And we continue at 1:06 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's in Culver City.
John, last night, residents of Sherman Oaks in the San Fernando Valley of the city of Los Angeles sat down for a public safety meeting with the LAPD so they could voice their concerns to LAPD Chief Jim McDonnell. And while you would assume that the residents of Sherman Oaks were mostly concerned about burglaries and robberies and the homeless, turns out there's a new concern in Sherman Oaks. Mark your calendars, boys.
We're having a huge problem with the prostitution more than anything and the crime that it brings.
The pimps and the hookers have moved in.
Aren't we doing a remote in Sherman Oaks in like 3 weeks?
Yes, we are. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. It is a pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. He is the consultant that was responsible for the recall of Gavin Newsom during COVID. He is also an ex-senior advisor for ballot access to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. You can get him on X at Economy Radio. Randy Economy, welcome.
Hey, Johnny. How you doing, buddy? I'm here on Palm Canyon, so I'm a little bit in downtown Palm Springs, so I might have a little bit of a dicey reception, but I should be, I think we're good to go, buddy.
All right. Well, don't melt out there. It's a scorcher.
You know, it's like, anything less than 110 is okay here in Palm Springs, right?
All right. Well, as someone who knows Gavin Newsom very well, I want to talk to you about his personality transplant in recent weeks, where he's trying to go from being the Democrat who can talk to MAGA land, which is what he was trying to portray himself as on his podcast, to now the Democrat who is willing to do, say, or tweet anything to defeat Donald Trump and Republicans. Most recently, and this is breaking, he just came out, I guess, on some kind of video and said, in regard to Republicans, we're going to punch these sons of bitches in the mouth, end quote.
Yes. Yeah, lovely guy, lovely man. Yeah, you know, he's a psychopath. But I guess you could say he's our psychopath. And I understand kind of what he's doing because he's, you know, one thing about Gavin Newsom is you can't count the guy out. And I think sometimes when people underestimate him, you kind of get it. You get a problem, but you understand exactly where he's coming from at all time. And this latest version of him it's alarming. It's disturbing. But for some reason, he feels that this is the pathway he must take, not only to be successful in his latest, ballot measure to get rid of 4 or 5 Republican districts here in California, but to make him the tough guy nationwide. And for that, it's a little frightening, and I think all of us need to be alarmed.
He also has given the keys to his social media accounts to the theater kids, and the theater kids are just having a ball with his Twitter accounts and his other social media accounts where they're just going after everyone, including fire victims. There was a store, Bed Bath & Beyond, who said that California is a difficult state to do business in, and they went after them in very personal terms, members of the legislature.
I think they told him to F off, Bed Bath & Beyond, if I'm correct.
Well, they're claiming that they didn't put that out. They're claiming that that was a tweet that was an altered tweet or something along those lines, but that they endorsed the sentiment. They thought it was funny.
Okay. Very funny. You know, listen, it's alarming when you have to have in public life now teams of social media experts who do nothing more than that's their job. Their job is to troll on social media, and they get paid 6-figure salaries with all the cash and prizes to go along with it, all the benefits, retirement, PERS, overtime, you know, you name it, they get it. That's a problem. But we've got to stand up to these people sooner or later because they're just destroying what's California. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so damn determined on this recall campaign to go ahead and at least get a narrative where we can have some hope and some change and some help.
One of the constants throughout Gavin Newsom's career has been the accumulation of power. He is a narcissist who believes in himself and believes that he should be the one at the top of the pyramid. And anyone who tries to stand in his way is public enemy number one. At one point in time, you were public enemy number one because you were leading the recall against him that qualified for the ballot. And there were polls that showed at times that Gavin Newsom could lose that election. As someone who was public enemy number one and right in the middle of Gavin Newsom's crosshairs, how difficult did he try to make life for you?
Well, it got to the point, John, where he had one of his minions impersonate me online for 7 months, and sent out the most derogatory, disgusting types of emails and text messages and death threats to people, many to whom I consider friends. And it turned out that the guy who tried to, who was doing this against me, was a devotee of Gavin Newsom, and I don't put anything past Gavin in regards to his outreach on things. But to make a long story short, this sick individual who portrayed me online for 8 months finally got arrested. They did 16 search warrants. Thank you to Mike Hestron, the district attorney of Riverside County, who took the case very, very serious. The guy was looking at 3 to 5 years in jail, and he got a $400 fine, John, and walked away out of the courtroom. And I got admonished in my victim statement because the judge was appointed by Gavin Newsom. So the system it's very alarming. I don't want to say the system is rigged, but boy, I'll tell you, if people don't wake up to what's happening now and today and next week and next month and by November, California might as well just fall off to the face into the Pacific, because it's really just it's a tragedy what we're seeing right here.
Gavin Newsom is currently polling at number one right now in the Democratic primary for president. He clearly believes that what he's doing right now is working, and that leads me to believe that he's going to keep his foot on the gas pedal. Do you think that's what he's going to do?
Well, he's running for president, and he's been running for president for a number of years now, and he's doing anything he does right now is not calculated or to be the chief executive officer of the fourth largest economy in the world, but to be Gavin Newsom, the candidate and the rising hope and the shiny, the guy in the shiny armor on the white horse, trying to save the world. So that's why I'm working so hard on this recall. And I think we're going to maybe probably fall a little bit short in regards to being able to collect the amount of signatures that we need. But we can't roll over on this guy. We can't let this guy win. And if he wins, America will lose. And I can't even imagine what America would look like if he was president of the United States. I can't even fathom.
How do you think he's going to do as a candidate in the Democratic primaries?
I think he'll do very well. I don't see anybody stopping him. I don't see AOC stopping him. I mean, he's got that star appeal that the Democrats need. I mean, as much as, there's some calm people like Andy Beshear out of Kentucky or Josh Shapiro out of Pennsylvania who are individual governors, they're not that leading man category like Gavin Newsom is. And that sickens my heart to have to say that. But you got to give the guy some sort of a credit because, I mean, he's laser focused on what he wants to do. There is no, I don't want to say there's not an organized Republican Party in California because there's really not. And that's not a problem for him. It's a problem for the rest of Californians who are sitting here hopelessly trying to have a voice to get rid of this guy. But, you can't do it when you only have less than 30 members out of 120 in the state legislature who identify as Republicans. I mean, we live in a one-party state, and that's why I'm trying so hard just to fire this guy, just to be able to get people to go to the website savingcalifornia.vote, download the petition, sign the damn thing, and get it turned into me by September 1st.
Kamala Harris has not yet said what she's going to do in 2028, but she is widely thought of as being a candidate in that Democratic primary. The feeling is that there's not enough room for two candidates from California in that primary. Certainly
That's
not
correct.
enough room for two clients of A. Smith, who is the consultant who's represented both those candidates, both Gavin Newsom.
I'm glad you pointed that out because Ace holds the cards. No pun intended.
What do you think Gavin Newsom is going to do if Kamala jumps in? Do you think he's going to stand down, or do you think he's going to do what he has to do to take her out?
He'll slit her throat if he has to, and I don't mean that in a literal sense. I mean in a political sense. Gavin Newsom wants to be president of the United States of America. It's like he feels like he's the reinstate. He's the modern day candidate that is portrayed by Robert Redford back in the early 70s, or even out of an updated version of Scandal. With the popular governor of California becoming the president of the United States. I mean, like it or not, Gavin Newsom comes out of Central Casting. I just think that he's overseeing a horror movie right now. And I don't know how you freaking stop this guy. And I'm not saying this condescendingly. I don't know what else can be done.
How nasty do you think he's going to get with Kamala?
Well, he'll do whatever he can to stop her. Listen, Kamala is becoming a footnote in her own tragic play. And I think when you see how she is becoming so irrelevant each and every day, how she wasn't going to run for governor because she doesn't want to do this, she wants to do. I mean, she's basically, she probably should just become a greeter or a waitress over at IHOP. To be honest with you, at this point in the game, because she doesn't have a future in politics. She really doesn't. And the Democratic Party, took a chance on her this last time. They lost miserably after spending $1.2 billion on her campaign in less than 120 days. Well, how'd that work out? I don't think there's an appetite for Kamala Harris anymore. I think she's overstayed her welcome, and I think she's just now yesterday's news.
What do you think the real reason is that she decided not to run for governor? It seems like there's two schools of thought. It seems like there are people who believe that she's going to run for president and running for governor would be a distraction, particularly because California is in the condition that it's in. It would be very difficult for her to run a state that's a basket case and then run for president at the same time. Or do you think she had private numbers that showed that she could lose that race?
Well, I think the thing is that I think she knew that she just couldn't win. And I think when you look at the field of candidates running for governor right now who are so insanely weak, I've never seen a weaker field of candidates in my life than probably campaigns that I've done in the past for the local Pico Rivera City Council or something like that. I mean, this is the weakest field of candidates I've ever seen. I think Kamala just basically said, do I really want to get into this? And I think she even got to the point where she says, no, enough's enough. And I think A. Smith and her handlers and basically said, no, your time's up. You're done. Thank you very much for your time. And, good luck. Just like this, Eleni Koulounakis, who was the lieutenant governor, who said that she was going to run for governor, she backs out because she's getting too much heat. So I think they're clearing the field. The field for the people running for governor it's just not there yet. I do sort of have a preference, not necessarily a preference, but there is one person that is emerging. Her name is Elaine Kulati, who I think would make an excellent candidate for governor. She is a former star and on the Discovery Channel reality show Undercover Billionaire, and she recently lost her home in the Palisades fire, is working day in and day out to try to fix the needs of the people of the Palisades because of all the property and the devastation they've lost. And I think it's going to be somebody from that side of the equation who's going to step forward in the next several months or next couple of months to say, this field just isn't what it needs to be. And I think that that's a good, bright, positive thing for California. Even if Rick Caruso gets into the race for governor, which I still say is a tremendous possibility. This field is so weak right now that there has to be a bright, shining star out there. And I don't know how we got to this point in California, because California is the prize. It is the example of what America stands for, and now it's just become a target's dream.
What does your gut tell you about Rick Caruso? Do you think he jumps in, or could potentially he be a candidate for mayor again? Because whenever he weighs in on what's going on in the world, he seems to focus on LA City issues, not state of California issues.
You know, Rick's a good guy, but again, Rick is consumed with Los Angeles, and that's not a bad thing. Somebody has to pay attention to this once great city. But he's an anomaly in politics because he's very rich. He spent over $100 million of his own money on that race for mayor last time, and still wasn't able to muster a win. So, I mean, Rick Caruso has a lot going for him, but he also has this relatability issue with the average person in Los Angeles, whether it be the heavily immigrant community, the Latino community, whatever it is. I mean, they're sticklers, and seeing a billionaire from, with his lifestyle so lavish, a lot of people just can't relate to him.
Randy Economy. You can follow him on X at Economy Radio. And Randy, if people want to get the petition to recall Newsom, how can they do that?
Go to savingcalifornia.vote, download the petition, get me a wet signature, and mail it in between now and September 1st, and we'll see what happens.
All right, Randy Economy, thanks so much for stopping by.
Love you, champ.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, there's an email in the mailbag that's very angry at my position on marijuana.
So Johnny talked about him regretting voting to legalize marijuana on Tuesday's show. And Frank writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com with the subject line, Reefer Madness Nazi. John Boy, your anti-cannabis rhetoric on the August 19th Turdcast was pure bleep, like the finest propaganda films from the 20th century, Triumph of the Will, Reefer Madness, or anything from Worldwide Pictures. It sounded like generic Dr. Drew, Dr. Phil, Laura Mengele, Nancy Grace, Barry Goldwater, William G. Buckley, or Dennis Prager in a coma. I know, it's real hilarious.
Just looking at that email, I can smell the scent of marijuana.
You harshed his buzz.
Sounds like it. And if you want to go back and listen to the podcast edition of that episode, Randy, that's easy to do.
I'm not going to read the next email, but you should read it.
Uh-oh.
Search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's the Apple Podcasts app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes.
Oh, I saw it. And right now it's time to open up the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And Randy, I think at least 10 people emailed us this story last night.
That's because while Barbara Lee keeps wanting to tout that crime is down in Oakland, the crime stories are getting more out of control by the day.
I said, hell no, baby boy. Let me get up on out of here.
If only the news would stop reporting on it.
Someone stole a U-Haul and crashed into 2 different banks in Oakland's Chinatown to steal ATMs.
Well, they're tenacious.
At the same time, an Oaklander at a different ATM got robbed at gunpoint.
It's dangerous getting cash.
For more, here's KTVU, Fox 2 in the Bay.
The mayor tells me she recognizes the difference between crime data and the perception of crime.
Because the crime data is flimsy.
Why don't you believe our cookbooks and stop believing your lying eyes?
And the perception of crime. She says more work is being done to close that gap.
It's a really, really life-changing amount of money for me to lose.
This woman who did not want her face shown was robbed at gunpoint Wednesday morning after visiting the Bank of America ATM on Lake Park Avenue near Oakland's Lake Merritt. She was upset as she told Oakland police about what happened.
They took like $700, which is basically all, I do pop-ups and
What are you supposed to do? If you need to take out cash, go to Walnut Creek?
Maybe, because let me tell you, I think I'd feel safer wearing an Angels jersey at Dodger Stadium than I would getting cash from an ATM in Oakland.
It's basically all, I do pop-ups and, I really live, check to check. It was not normal for me to have so much cash.
Police urge ATM users to be alert. Our cameras spotted this one.
Yeah, don't use an ATM in Oakland.
No.
Go to Fremont if you have to.
Police urge
Go to Hercules. Someone got all excited that we shouted out Hercules yesterday.
I saw that.
Police urge ATM users to be alert. Our cameras spotted this woman visibly counting her money right after she used the ATM, only minutes after the robbery.
Yeah, don't do that.
Okay. The crime in Oakland is something you can't do anything about right now because the city leaders have their head in the sand. But you don't have to be flashing cash and talking trash in Oakland to prove that the city is violent.
The numbers are one thing, and the numbers are accurate.
Oh, great.
There she is. Barbara Lee speaks for no one.
Quite frankly.
You know, I think I liked it better when she spent the first 2 months of her mayorship just in hiding.
Yeah, she was a lot more articulate then.
The numbers are one thing, and the numbers are accurate. But, of course, people don't feel safe.
I wonder why.
Yeah, and how about the insurance claims? How about those? Do those match up with your numbers?
Because of what has just taken place.
We caught up to Oakland Mayor Barbara Lee at Jack London Square.
We're working very hard to make...
You better be careful. Grandmas get robbed there.
Yeah, that's where Barbara Boxer got punched in the back of the head.
And then she screamed, "But I'm a grandma."
We're working very hard to make sure that people feel safe and that they are safe. And we're going in the right direction, but this is...
No, we're not.
According to the stats, we are, Randy.
This is another example of why I keep saying we have a lot of more work to do.
Hours earlier, before dawn Wednesday, thieves used this U-Haul truck to break into the front windows of 2 banks in the city's Chinatown.
Wait a minute. The stats say that's not happening.
So, in the last 48 hours, just in the Chinatown part of Oakland, you had a pickup truck ram into a jewelry store in broad daylight, and then a stolen U-Haul ram into 2 different banks overnight.
But that could just all be a dream because that doesn't match up with the statistics.
They left the U-Haul behind with a chain still attached. The ATM at the Sterling Bank at 8th and Webster was dislodged and possibly stolen using that chain.
By the way, how brazen, you're even stealing the ATMs out of a bank.
That's when everyone knows there are no consequences for anything.
Around the corner at Cathay Bank at 7th and Webster, the ATM was still there, but the damage still significant. A Cathay Bank manager who did not want his face shown spoke to us in the aftermath.
I just woke up. It was pretty shocking. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's pretty normal, at least in banking, this happens.
It's normal for a U-Haul to crash into the front of a bank to steal an ATM?
Well, everything is relative.
Quite often, but just hasn't happened during my tenure.
All hands on deck. We cannot tolerate this. I've talked with people at the bank, and we're working with our community to try to make sure the city responds.
If only she knew someone in government.
I hate to say this, but I'm pretty irritated about it. What was the point of getting rid of Shang?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess you have an older, different race version of Shang, but the policies are all the same.
The policies are the exact same, and you took away a source of joy from this radio program.
And he said, absolutely.
If you took away Shang to put in Lauren Taylor, I was all for it. But to take away Shang Tao and to replace her with 80-year-old Barbara Lee, who has the same stupid ideas, is the most Oakland thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, what's the point of the recall if this is what you end up with?
Oakland Bees!
And all hands on deck, according to police, include community help. So if anyone has any information or surveillance video of these incidents, they're asked to call Oakland Police. Live in Oakland, Henry Lee.
And Oakland Police will not be available to answer the phone.
They'll tell you to fill out a form online.
Live in Oakland, Henry Lee, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Okay, Henry, thank you very much.
And there is the latest from a city that we just want to do better. We want it to be safe, but it's not going to happen anytime soon.
It's a lot of crime now.
All right, Randy, let's reopen the crime blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And we're going to stay right in the East Bay with this one and go to Vallejo.
Not another Vallejo story.
Our target was set on fire.
A Vallejo mom stopped somebody from getting stabbed to death. And what was her reward? The jackass stole her car. For more, here's Cron 4.
In the North Bay, a Good Samaritan stepped in to help save a man's life when he was being attacked. But now she's in need herself. Cron 4's Teresa Estacio explains.
The moment that he went back to stab him again, I didn't think about it. I just knew that I had to do what I could to stop it.
On Wednesday, Amanda Williams shared her harrowing tale.
And I pull up to what looks like two guys fighting. I thought that they were just fighting, so I was going to pull up, say, hey, I'm calling the police. You guys need to stop.
That's Vallejo, PD. Good luck.
Yeah, I would have just kept moving.
They're also severely understaffed.
And then one of them was so bloody, it was incredible. And I noticed the other one had knives in his hand. So then
knives,
multiple knives? What is he, a juggler on a cruise ship?
This guy called Ron Popeil and got that set of knives for 3 easy payments at $13.33. It's disgusting how much I remember about infomercials from 30 years ago.
Yeah, in the 90s, they played a lot of them.
So then I start screaming, hey, I'm going to call the police. Get off of him. Leave him alone.
Williams says that it was around 9 a.m. on August 11th. She had just dropped off her 4-year-old son, William, at daycare. She was on her way to start her shift as a DoorDash driver when she saw 2 men fighting on Miller Avenue in Vallejo.
If you got cold fries that day, give her a break. She's a hero.
And that's probably not ketchup.
Knife is going to hit him. I need to be there to stop it. So that's what I did. I got out there and I grabbed his arm that had the knives and I pulled his arm behind him because he was down on the ground on top of him. So he wasn't really able to do much. After that, he got up because obviously I was intervening and he started wrestling with me for the knives. And then I knew I was in trouble. So we wrestled for a minute, and I knew I had to get away from him, or I was going to be the next victim. I had cuts and scratches, but only superficial stuff. I wasn't hurt.
Williams says that she...
Gosh, this woman is brave.
Would you do that?
No.
I would call 911, but that's the extent of it.
Well, especially you're going after someone that has knives, and you have no knives. You've got no weapons. I mean...
And you also have no connection to the person who's the victim. That person could be just as bad as the person with the knives.
Williams says that she has no formal training. She relied on instinct. A neighbor whose surveillance camera caught the crime in action called police for help. The suspect, identified by police as Henry Johnson, took off in Williams' car.
So the cherry on top of the sundae is she now has no ride.
She got her car stolen because she was a good Samaritan that stopped someone from getting stabbed to death.
Well, she can always get a bike and run over some pedestrians herself.
Smashing it a short time later.
And now I don't have a vehicle for DoorDash.
Without a car, Williams says that she and her son are facing a hardship. So she set up a GoFundMe account to help out.
So my mom lets me use her car for a big thing is that I need to take care of, but I can't just take her car all the time. She needs it too. So we're kind of in a bind right now.
Williams says that she has heard that the man she saved is going to live. Neighbors say Williams is a real hero.
She's amazing. I think she saved a life.
In Vallejo, Teresa Estacio, KRON 4 News.
The least that the Vallejo PD could do is find her car.
Well, no good deed goes unstolen.
So that's the latest out of what's going on in Vallejo. A brave mother stops a stabbing, and her reward is her car got stolen.
You know, the person doing the stabbing's a mother, too. But that's just half of the word. And, Randy, it's time to reopen the California Crime Blotter.
If the cashier is dummy.
Questions?
And this edition takes us to the state capitol.
In Sacramento, there was an armed standoff. Where was this armed standoff? Well, it was at a building known as Permanent Supportive Housing for the Homeless.
You don't say. They brought some drama with them?
Whenever you hear politicians talking about cleaning up the streets, clearing the encampments, we say we got to get them into shelters, then eventually into permanent supportive housing, where we're going to solve all their problems. Not so much. Turns out this permanent supportive housing shelter has been a hotbed for crime.
What do you know?
For more, here is CBS Sacramento.
Well, downtown business owners are fed up over a building they say has become a magnet for crime.
We're talking about St. Clair, permanent housing for formerly homeless people.
No, they're still homeless.
And just as crazy.
Located on 9th and L, just this morning, a man barricaded himself inside there in a standoff that lasted hours.
Your reporter covering Sacramento County, Tori Apodaca, joining us live.
But, you know, it's starting to make sense if the big homeless shelter is on L Street, and you know what we found out happened at the cafe on K Street.
That's just a couple of letters away.
Your reporter covering Sacramento County, Tori Apodaca, joining us live in downtown Sacramento, getting answers on those concerns and what the city and police are saying. Tori.
That building, St. Clair, is ran by Mercy Housing, and it does have case.
What a great name for a homeless nonprofit.
Sometimes your name is your destiny.
That building, St. Clair, is ran by Mercy Housing, and it does have caseworkers and other resources for the homeless who are living there. But many business owners and people who live here in downtown say it's not enough.
So when you see these folks suffering on the street, it's like, you know, you wish you could allocate the dollars that do exist in a smarter way.
A call for more services for the homeless.
No.
Can you imagine working at that housing development?
I really can't. And by the way, neither can the people working there. The highest turnover rate of any job in the public sector is social worker.
Well, I mean, come on. Every single person you meet when you're a social worker, in their obituary is going to involve the line before turning the gun on himself.
Well, and to think about it, how difficult is that job when you send these people into a hotel and they are allowed to do their drugs? You think they're going to pay attention to what the social worker has to say? They got some mething to do.
That sounds like the Hampton Inn from hell.
To mitigate the number of calls to the Sacramento Police Department.
They spent so much money on renovating this historic property that they don't have a lot of capital left over for the services. We want to solve this problem.
Downtown developer John Vignoki says the former Capitol Park Hotel.
Now I'm hungry.
Says the former Capitol Park Hotel turned permanent supportive housing for the homeless has been a nuisance since it opened in 2024. The data he got from SacPD reveals that about 10% of calls in the JK and L corridor of downtown between 7th and 13th Streets came from the building.
Okay, and then when the inmates escape from the asylum and they move on to neighboring businesses or neighboring blocks, they're the cause of all the calls, too.
But it's not even an asylum. It's not a locked facility. These people can come out whenever they want and do you-know-what to that cafe on K Street.
Yeah, you see, that's the problem. They don't belong in a building like that. They belong in a building with mattresses on the walls, not in the bed frame.
In the first half of 2025, about 3 to 4 times more than other businesses in that area, like the 7-Eleven on J Street.
The homeless shelter has more calls for service than 7-Eleven.
And they get robbed every hour on the hour.
The most recent call there came Wednesday morning.
Can I give the middle finger?
When residents at St. Clair had an early morning wake-up call from SWAT when an armed suspect barricaded himself inside a unit.
When you've got a high volume of calls for service, something's up. So that gives us an opportunity to respond. There's an opportunity for improvement.
Sacramento City Councilman Phil Pluckybaum represents downtown.
That's a name.
Yeah, no kidding.
Phil Pluckybaum represents downtown. He wasn't in office when the city spent $20.3 million to flip the hotel into homeless housing. But he's suggesting solutions, more resources for dispute resolution, crisis and trauma counseling, and services for people's pets.
Wouldn't it be cheaper to put these people in prison?
They tell us that these people are homeless due to the high cost of housing, and then 10 minutes later, the SWAT team shows up. That's not because the plant got shut down. These people are crazy. They've fried their brains on drugs, and if you can't tell that, then maybe you did too.